I remember when I first was applying for this job many moons ago. There, pardon the interruption. I had just re-signed a contract for my last place of employment, which was a nice place. It was kind of the same deal as caretaker of a math and science camp on a lake, lodge, little cabins, all this other stuff. But then this job came up. And to be quite honest, we just made it through a lawsuit with the former employer. It was tough going. They were violating labor laws. And that was a whole other issue I'm not going to get into, but we made nice. They settled. Of course, the lawyer got most of the money. We were able to buy an old used car. This job came up. We had just settled upon a nice agreement from the previous one, and this was the great unknown. And I remember sitting at the typewriter because there was a lot of essay questions, and it was pretty extreme getting this job. And I remember my wife sitting there, we're not going to get it. We're not, why are you even bothering? You're not going to get it. And I'm like, we're going to get it. And we wound up making it through because there was 147 other couples. I mean, these were high-powered individuals, former national park superintendents and stuff like that. Made it through the first cut. Now there's 10 couples. Had to go to interviews. There's still 10 couples to interview, right? Here's the picture. But to come up here for the few days it took to go through the cycle of interviewing, I had to basically say I'd rather see you than be you to my previous employers. Leap of faith. Leaving that position, jumping for the brass ring to get this one. And it paid off. Sometimes you have to take this no guts, no glory, leap of faith. Scary. Sometimes, if you want to go far, you have to risk a lot. You have to risk everything. You have to use your noodle and have a lot of faith. I once got a job, another thing, tell my wife, I'm going to get this teaching job. I'm going to fill out the cover letter in crayon. Who fills out a cover letter to get a teaching job with crayon? But it resonated. Got in the door. They had me sub in a classroom while everyone was like hiding, listening. They determined I had good classroom control and got the job. Filled out job application and the cover letter in crayon. Leap of faith. And so fast forward many years, many gray hairs, taking a leap of faith now. As far as, it's a foregone conclusion. Next time I go to Rogers City, I'm going to load up the pickup truck with bow making material and start setting up my workshop there. But I also love music. Eli and all the rest of the people, the Matt, it's a funny thing about primitive boat people. A lot of people are into music, playing music. Kind of goes along. You take this piece of wood and you're creating magic with it, being able to bend. This thing can feed you, or provide you with years and years of entertainment. It's the same way with these things, Take pieces of wood, use the alchemy of music, luthier, and you put together this little creature that can sing. So thinking this house that we bought, you've heard it before. Sometimes I sound like a broken record, but I don't necessarily put what I say down to memory, so I repeat myself again and again. The third bedroom on the second floor. It's a relatively compact house. It'll be nice. It won't cost as much to heat and operate, keep the lights on. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, furnished with antique furniture. I mean, it's an old house. It's got great bones, and we're furnishing it in the old stuff, like the old stuff. the third bedroom in the middle. You walk down the hallway, there's the one bedroom, then there's the other bedroom. Straight ahead is this interesting room that has like this small stage, this upper level, and then the window. And it's bigger with big closet and stuff like that. And no vents, which is weird because sometimes it seems like life has a plan for you as long as you follow this plan, and it's not spelled out with directions. You have to be able to read the signs. It doesn't have any vents for forced air heating. It's like, oh, it's weird. But without forced air heating, you can control the humidity levels. You don't suddenly have that burst of furnace air rushing in. Wow. And so that room is going to be the showroom of sorts. I'm going to be the musical version of a used car dealer. That's my version of an IRA. And at 10 o'clock tonight, I'm going to put the final bid on for, I'm not going to describe it whatsoever. Let you know tomorrow how it goes. But it would be my version of having like an old Les Paul gold top, or the Telecaster that this person played, or this old Strat, or Angus Young's Gibson. That's all I'm going to let out. But in the meantime, I can say that I've been learning a lot. My learning curve. I've discovered a site, Turismo, I think it is, or Turizio. It's a encyclopedia of stuff, violin, cello, viola, double bass, I'm sure. Has a list of European instrument makers from A to Z, and that's what it's called, instrument makers from A to Z. So you can, in my case, go to eBay, find a violin, which is going to be completely off the table if it has a Stradivarius label in it, forget it, or no label. I'm only going to pick things that has a name that's on that list. And you can even see what are the auction values that these instruments from this maker have made historically, the date and how much, and whether or not Sotheby's or what have you, whatever auction. Research. And plus I've also created a dialogue with a woman at a violin museum. And the funny thing about music, she could be a world-class first violinist soloist. But the funny thing about musicians like Primitive Bow people is they love what they're doing, and they'll be willing to talk about it. Just like I asked about a mandolin repair, and I struck up a conversation with Bruce. I'm blanking. Oh gosh, he was in charge of the mandolin building at Gibson, and then struck off and started his own company, and now it's Montana Luthiers. I asked a repair question to this guy, and it turned out it was Bruce. Oh, this is horrible. Master mandolin builder. He would be the Lloyd Loar of today, but just a genuine guy that was talking to me about a tailpiece on one of my Gibson mandolins. People love to talk. And so I was asking questions here and there with this expert in old violins, getting information and chatting back and forth. You have to be smart about things. So I think at this point I'm competent to locate violins on eBay, hidden gems that are worth stuff. And in this case, Dominique Selzard, Paris and Millicourt, France. This was made, it's hard to say, the Selzards didn't date their violins, but Dominique, born in 1801, died in 1875, and Francois, born in 1808 and died in 1870 or so. There is information that allows you to go through these things and determine whether or not it was one of the ones that they licensed to factories in Germany to build, or if they were their actual violins. And this one does. It's got, looks like a rubber stamp on the treble side. Not the typical label right here, but just a rubber stamp. Correct. And also the wood. It looked like, I'm sorry about the glare there. Let me back up a little bit. From the close-up photos of this thing, boy, that sun just is really being bad. It looked like the top plate, the table, had extremely fine grain, and it does. It's 50 rings per inch through most of it. Two-piece, very high quality spruce. On the back, it's one piece. And the sun wasn't out. You could see the highly figured wood, one piece, not two, but one piece. Because back then, like, two pieces fine, it doesn't affect the tone, but there was more access to larger tone wood trees, and so you could make one pieces easier. And there's some damage to it. This was repaired. This real Salzard, I believe, was repaired. There's a repair to the peg head, but it was done masterfully, and it even has flamed maple. The two belly cracks on the bass side, luckily not the treble side. It can be big treble, bass side, not the treble side. If you've got a sound peg crack here, it could be bad. And even with the cracks, older instruments, that the repair was done right, and this was done nicely. This is a solid, all the glue joints are solid. I scored from an antiques dealer, not a violin guy. He was gracious enough to say, if I didn't like it, I could return it. You know, he couldn't answer any technical questions, but that notwithstanding. But the older instruments, hey, 150 years old, the one I'm bidding on makes this one look like a puppy. Again, you think violins, what would be the Gibson Gold Top Les Paul? Not a remake, but the original one. What kind of violin that would be. But yeah, I'm not going to do any of the repairs myself. I can make and set sound posts. I can carve bridges. Not going to. The only person that's going to actually do any work, I did glue the nut back on it, cracked off. I've got hide glue, real hot hide glue, not Elmer's glue or anything. The only repairs to this, including these mysterious, weird patterns on the edges, these can be repaired. They'll just add new wood, reshape it, and then do that. And hopefully, because of where I'm going to have the work done, they'll be able to, I don't know if they certify violins, but they'll be able to tell me, you know, whether or not they believe this is an actual, real Salzard, which, by the way, there is a Salzard in the Smithsonian Institute, in the American History Museum. You know, and the difference in what I could sell this used car would be if it has actual certification, would be tremendous. Anything is worth what people pay for it, but being certified will help. Well, that's about it. You know, it's enjoyable. I can't wait to hear the sound of this. French violin. Did it in Jean-Paul? Or, yeah, Jean-Paul. I keep thinking of Led Zeppelin. I'm sorry, Louis Paul. Who watched me lose an auction on another violin, and I didn't really go for that one because it didn't really inspire me. The name was found in that list of European violin makers, but you know, you could buy these things all day. Maybe, I don't know what to sell it for, but it wouldn't be as potentially great, like life-changing great, like this one that, for all intents and purposes, I believe is real, that I'm going to be bidding on at 10 o'clock tonight. And yeah, that's about it. Wish me luck. Crossed fingers. Hope I get that. Hope I get that. And that is a leap of faith, because it's going to cost me more, along with the repairs, because it's not in perfect shape, to get up and running than this one. But you know, no guts, no glory. Have a good one. Thank you for listening.